that people are not clear on capitalism because capitalism is a very vicious system. But what it does is it embroideries its viciousness with all sorts of elusive terms. For example, many of us would support capitalism because we actually believe that in a capitalist system, there's a chance for us to get the same amount of money as Rockefeller gets, because we're told that under capitalism, there is equality of opportunity. So that we feel that if this year we didn't make as much as a Rockefeller made, then we got to work a little bit harder. And next year we're going to make it. But if we carefully examine a capitalist system, we will see that it's based on exploitation, because the viciousness of capitalism, and the reason why once black people examine it, we can never be for it, is that under a capitalist system, the fruits of those who labor are enjoyed by somebody else. That is, those who do the laboring, the fruits of their labor, they don't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we could say under capitalism that the fruits of the labor of the toiling masses are enjoyed by those who do not labor. And again, as black people, we have clear examples of it. If we were to get the fruits of our labor from slavery, just from slavery, all we got to do is go to Nixon and say, hey, look, you give us the fruits of our labor from slavery and we forget the score. We would be the richest people in the country, again, because under capitalism, the individual exploits the labor of the people. Now, people get confused because this is a capitalist system and it's a developed system. It's a technological system. So they combine capitalism with technology and development, and they think that there is no other possible way to develop this rapid terms of development without going through the capitalist route. But certainly we have examples that show the opposite of that. China is a clear example of that. Cuba is, North Korea, North Vietnam. These countries certainly in Africa, where countries have chosen the socialist path, such as Tanzania, Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville, Algeria, we see that there is another way to develop and get the same type of things that we have under the capitalist system, but in a system that does not exploit.
Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping, people? It's good to be back on the Nick and CJ Show. Welcome, CJ. That's a fire clip from Kwame Ture, as always, who himself, I will never forget this clip where he was talking about why he supports Marxism. I call myself a Marxist, and I'm very sympathetic to a lot of ideals and Marxist-Leninism. And the funny thing is, I know a lot of people think this is weird, but I also I listen to anarchists too, and I think they have a lot of good ideas. I know they have this civil war, but I like a lot of the ideas that I hear from a lot of my communist brothers and sisters. And he was asked about why he supported, and he just simply explained, Marx isn't the guy who created it. He was the guy who observed European culture. He was the guy who observed American culture. And he was like, these societies are built based on slavery. these societies are actually extremely uncivilized and dysfunctional. And there's constant class antagonism that is going on between the bourgeoisie and the workers. But then you look at indigenous people and how they lived. They look at African tribes. And I'm not saying these people, they are perfect, right? But he just observed, when you look at people of color, the people who were victim of imperialism, they lived in a more of a socialist way. And this is how indigenous Hawaiians lived. And that's when you had sorry, Steve, I know I'm going to rant, but I love that video.
Keep going.
You had European colonizers that came and they saw indigenous people and how they lived, and they're like, these people are lazy bums. And they're like, no, we just had a more efficient mode of production than you guys do. They got most of their work done before 12 p.m. They allocated the work based on need, based on want, and they got things done. They got food, people fed, people housed. Right, people were living happy lives despite the fact that they didn't have a lot. And meanwhile, under capitalist systems, we got countries that have a lot, but people are broke. You guys see how there's more efficiency in a more centralized, community-based system. And that is what Marx analyzed. It wasn't his idea. He just looked at societies, Western society that relied on slavery, indigenous society that relied on community building. And then a lot of these communities tend to be happier. And that's what Kwame Ture filled his ideology. That's what he's explained. If you look at our people and how we lived, we have black capitalists that brainwashed us. We're gonna get to that later. You said I can tie it all together.
Yeah.
Black capitalist class, they tricked us into thinking that we believe in individualism. CJ, that's never been our people's thing. We've been always a collective unit, a collective society, a culture that love each other, that have the back of multiple generations. You had grandmas live with their grandkids, nieces live with their uncles, because we believe in a strong family ties. This has come from Latinos, Africans, indigenous societies. Then capitalists came, they're like, we need to sell more homes, so we're gonna break up the family, just mom, dad, and kids. And that's just one example. But anyway, CJ, I love that clip. And
no, but that's a great example though. But go ahead about the clip, because I was going to say something about the clip too. So what do you think of that clip?
I mean, I pretty much did my rant, and that's kind of like that's why if you listen to real Black radicals, the people who laid the foundation to what the Black community became today, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, MLK, these people are anti-capitalist because they look at the tradition of our people. They look at the crimes of a capitalist system that essentially evolved from feudalism, from the old school libertarian model, where you have very weak federal government, but you have these oligarchs, you have these tyrants, you have the feudal lords who control a large amount of wealth. That pretty much they have their own private armies. They can pretty much write laws with their influence. That is what a lot of right wingers, they want to go back to that now. They call that libertarianism. But I'm like, yeah, I agree with you guys on the anti-war stuff, but everything else, I am your enemy, because that's essentially their ideology. Is if you strip, like, guys, there will always be central power. And I'm gonna make this last point before we move on. There will always be central power in society. The question is, who controls it? Do the people control it, or do people with wealth and power controls it? So under our system right now, our corrupt system, the billionaires control the means of production. If you look at our electoral system, 95% of the time, the people who spend the most money, aka the people who are financed by the billionaires, win. They bought our democracy, guys. They bought our means of production. They have all the power. Thus, they bought the government. They bought the government, and the government corrupt. People distrust the government, but people distrust the government because the power of the billionaires, not the opposite. Because if the government was more powerful than the oligarchs, then people wouldn't be distrustful of government. People are distrustful of government because the oligarchs are more powerful of government, right. And people know the oligarchs will buy the government. So if we took control of production and the power came from the proletariat and we made the decisions, that would be a much more beneficial society. And feudal systems, which the libertarians want to go back to, they want to strip the new neoliberal government that we have, which I have a lot of disagreements with, but they want to strip that away. But then who control the power? The people who have the wealth and the power. That's where feudal lords came from. And we evolved from that. So despite all criticism of economic neoliberalism, that was an upgrade over libertarian right-wing economic philosophy. That is what Richard Wolff explained. He's like, man, I have a lot of criticisms of how neoliberals run economics, but that came as an upgrade after the industrial age. We're like, we can't keep running shit like this. The workers had enough, and they had to give concessions. That eventually led to FDR famously saying, like, bro, we better give them concessions or you're going to destroy capitalism. And they did. That was smart. They gave them the social democratic reforms. They didn't give the power to the proletariat. The power still belongs to the prisons, the billionaires, the people who own the businesses. So yeah,
it's funny though. A couple of points, and this is unexpected, but we do this. It's funny how the oligarch, the ruling class, describes losing democracy, but they don't call losing democracy being bought by corporations. Like they don't use that though. Like they don't say, "Oh no, that's just normal." Losing democracy is just electing Trump. That's losing democracy.
People going in the streets is the most democratic thing possible, but they see that as people losing their democracy. You see the people melting down over January 6th, and I still remember people got mad at me because I was like, "Yo, that should be the left, bro. What the fuck? It should be the left storming this motherfucking Capitol. Are you serious?
I don't give a damn about January 6th.
So, and then I remember people got mad at me like, "Oh my god, these people are fascists." Like, okay, I'm saying we should be doing what they're doing, right?
Right.
But then they see that as the biggest affront. The biggest affront is people taking our power. You guys going to the street? Shut the fuck up and show up and vote every 2 years.
They really think they're smarter than us. They really think they're smarter, and that's why they have been chosen by some higher being to be the people who are up at the top exploiting everybody. But yeah, it was always curious to me that how they describe when we're losing democracy, like they're losing democracy, they're losing control, and that's what they're using to describe that. Thank you for the super chat. You can go ahead and read it.
Yeah, we already got a few super chats. I just want to put them up before we get started. Thank you for the 199. Will, new fan, Jimmy Dore show turned me to your channel. Yeah, you guys know how our channel is being down by the algorithm. The only way we really get subscribers, because we got a good turnover rate. When people watch our channel, they subscribe. They like.
Yeah.
But people don't find our show because our algorithm buries us. They bury it. So
we can literally be live. I know you described this situation too. We could literally be live, and a video that's not live it will show before ours, and ours will be way down, and ours is live.
I had screenshots. I showed you. I literally had to. I remember I was on my other profile, my personal one, my old YouTube channel. I had to scroll down like 5 lines of video to find a live show. I'm like, what the fuck? People not getting notifications. So anyway, my point is, we do appreciate whenever someone gives a shout out. You notice people like they try their best not to say our name. They do that because they think people are gonna get bad information, right? They don't want people to see our stuff because they know more people see our stuff, more people will join us in the way we think politically. They don't want to do that. That's why many people have issue with me, but they won't debate me. We've seen a few people who made the mistake of doing that, like Destiny, right? Got dismantled. But people don't even want to debate like intense. Like people who see my Ukraine covers, like liberals, and they will be outraged. I'm like, you would think you want to invite me on your show and debate me about it, but they don't even want people to see it.
Not that far. They don't want to go that far, Nick.
So yeah, I do appreciate that because we had 21,000 subscribers now. We need 9K.
I'll put that up now. Since you said that, I'll put that up.
Yeah, we need 9K to get to 30K, and that was my end of the year goal. So we got 9K left. So we appreciate everyone who's new here. And I hope you guys enjoying the content because even if you have a liberal and conservatives, because people reach out to me all the time. I remember I did a video while I was roasting conservatives. I did a video while I was roasting Tucker Carlson, and this conservative dude reached out to me like, "Yo, actually, you made a lot of good points there." I was like, "Oh shit!" See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, even if they're not left, they liberal, conservative.
Right.
So it's our channel. I can at least give them a different perspective. I'm not gonna have them flying Marxist flags, but I can at least shatter their current worldview. So we appreciate people who share and give us shout outs because that's help us grow. So and also we want to shout out the super sticker, and then we get back to the subject.
Oh, just a super sticker.
Yeah.
All right. So also, if you want to make sure you get notifications for streams like this, like you don't know they're popping up, all you have to do is join our Substack. We send out notifications about an hour or 2 hours before our stream. So make sure you do that. Like this stream. We're at 193 people watching. So maybe we can get to 153 likes. If we can push to 153 likes, that'll get a lot more people here. And then let's do a quick chat check before we get into the topics. Let's see what everybody is saying, Nick, in the comments. If you see something in the comments, put it up there. But I'm going to scroll all the way to the beginning. Make sure the people that was here right at the beginning get a little bit of love. AOC will fail harder than Kamala. I don't know about that because she is better than, as far as speaking, at least communicating. But she could.
I do not want to come across as crazy than AOC at all. I do not. Like, you guys hear my criticism of AOC, but there's levels to this shit. Kamala is one of the worst politicians I've ever seen.
I don't think I've seen anyone else worse than her.
AOC made a lot of missteps that turned her off from the working class. We're going to explain that here very soon. But Kamala is next level. So I don't know if I want to go that level. You guys might call me soft, but I don't know if I want to say AOC's Kamala. Because Kamala is, she's so bad. But anyway, go ahead. AOC won't even win a Democratic Party primary because she has 2 problems. She has consistently alienated large chunks of the far left. She needs complete support from to win a. That is what I was explaining to the
about Nina Turner too.
I was telling people like their strategy the strategy doesn't make sense. Why align with the Nancy Pelosi Democrats? Why align and take donor money and then give it to CIA Democrats? That's what AOC did. AOC took her donations and gave it to the people who was against Medicare for all. That action makes no sense if your goal is to advance socialism. If your goal is to advance the quality of life for the working class, She makes so many moves that makes no sense. So who are you trying to win over by voting for Ukraine aid? And your position on that issue is so bad that Marjorie Taylor Greene zings you, where she says, "Hey,
That's
AOC,
outrageous.
what is the carbon emissions on that Ukraine bill you voted for?" AOC usually loves to have those Twitter wars. She didn't say nothing to that because her advancing and expanding the military-industrial complex is a betrayal. And we're going to talk about AOC for president later. I'm spoiling it just a little bit, but I'm going to piss a lot of people off. How are you guys going to pick someone and pick their biggest weakness and give them the greatest power in the land at their weakness? AOC weakness is foreign policy. AOC weakness is imperialism. This same with people saying that Marianne Williamson should be president. Are you guys out of your mind? The commander-in-chief, the executive branch, is in charge of the military, and they make executive decisions. These are what AOC. This is AOC's biggest weakness. So the legislative part, where you're like, oh, well, she support Medicare for all. She support a lot of bullshit she's not going to fight for. At least that's in Congress, right? She on the issue of Julian Assange, she was like, yeah, I support Edward Snowden, but I don't know about Julian Assange. So you told me as president she would still continue the prosecution of Julian Assange? So you guys are picking her at her biggest weakness, foreign policy, the issues in the power of the state, which is weak on. And you guys want to put her in that position? Even if you disagree with our analysis, you believe in electoral politics, if you agree with taking on Democrats, that's not even good strategy. Right? But anyway, CJ, I know you want to chime in because I've been
I'm gonna read this comment, but no, just going off what you said, I was just pontificating in my head about what you said, and it kind of speaks to the point we've said before in other streams, where what makes a leftist in the U.S. has nothing to do with the cornerstones of what leftism should be, which is the liberation of oppressed people.
Yeah,
that should be a cornerstone, and it's not even like a top factor or priority.
It's the exact opposite.
In building what a left is. Yeah, it's the exact opposite. It's like at the end.
Out. But go ahead. Sorry, CJ. Go ahead.
No, it's at the end that they put the foreign policy is like the last thing, and it's nuance. It's like anti-war with some nuance. What? It's like anti-war, you're anti-war. Not with all these nuances and caveats.
I can't help but keep throwing this. I'll show this to Max, and Max had a good laugh at this because I'm sorry, guys. I got to be the guy who's like, hey, we got to be serious, man. And it looks like he's going to win, so I don't know why you guys are mad at me attacking him, because I think he's going to win because Dr. Oz is just that bad. But this guy and Nina Turner sold out Palestinians, and it was like, we're going to sell out Palestinians so the Democrat will like us. And then if we sell these people out, they might support our policies more. How is that working out? That's not working. AOC and the squad voting for the Ukraine proxy war is not dragging Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden to the left. That is what they tell their people. That's their philosophy, but they know it's bullshit.
It's a flawed strategy, Nick. It is such a flawed strategy because in order for you to be liked by this administration so that you can get a committee seat and get your progressive things, you have to compromise your values. There's no other way. You can't be a vegetarian and then join the meat eaters team and be like, I want to change shit. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Their whole team is about eating meat. You're a vegan. Like, it's not gonna mesh. But you know what you got to start doing if you're a vegan, Nick? To join the meat eaters? Get some fish. Get some chicken. I won't get heavy steak. You get what I'm saying? So that's what you have to do. And then it's like you still calling yourself a vegan, though. That's what you do.
Think about what they tell us, CJ. Think about what they tell us. CJ, come on, man. Why you being so hard on Nina? Why you being so hard on AOC? She has to sell you out a little bit because she got to get his committee assignment. She got to join the club. Think of her career. Think about her career, CJ, okay? Once she in the inside, then she will secretly fight for you.
Right.
She can't tell you the plan. She can't say it. She don't want people to know, CJ. So
but
she
you
can't
see
say it out
how
loud. You just got to trust
in that plan, it's so flawed because you have to compromise yourself, and you have to perpetually be selling out somebody. You have to be selling out at some point. You're selling out Black people, people of color, and indigenous people to the police state. You're selling out Palestinians to the war machine and the Israeli lobby. You have to do a lot of selling out in order to play the I'm nice game. This is what Kashama talks about, why this is a flawed strategy. Because in order to play the I'm nice game, you have to walk away from the working class. You have to walk away from the indigenous. You have to walk away from Palestinians in order to say, like me enough, Nancy Pelosi, to give me a committee assignment. That means you have to vote for NATO. You have to cry and put on that performative thing on the floor, and then I'll go ahead and do it, and then abstain from voting because they're grooming you to take her position. And that kind of bleeds into the story we're talking about with AOC 2024. But you have any other comments? Actually,
I'm gonna make one last next level connection, then we can move on to our story. I love the warm-up conversations. So let's make a connection here to explain why I'm so disappointed, especially with AOC and the squad and the progressive unanimously decided to expand NATO. Now, anti-imperialists have been calling out NATO because NATO is the cause of the war in Ukraine, which is it's sad to see innocent lives lost. Like it's sad to see war. That this war is NATO's war, though. NATO recently just said that their main primary objective is to counter China. So you know that new Cold War that we're talking about? NATO is spearheading that. So NATO and the United States is pressuring and withholding political aid from Africa because they are trying to flex their geopolitical influence. That you guys better take our side, or we're going to destabilize your entire economy with trade. The same thing they accuse China of, by the way. This is the United States and what NATO is doing. They now, in their 2030 initiative, I broke it down on my show. They say their primary objective, CJ, is to wage war against China and Russia. Bernie Sanders and AOC voted to expand this organization. So AOC and Bernie Sanders sided with the oligarchs on the global class war that the capitalists are planning. That is not an understatement. Everything else, that's not an overstatement. Everything else is an understatement. Like these votes that they're making this year is a declaration of war against the workers. Billions of dollars took for our community, going to fund Nazis, to expand the project in NATO that Max Blumenthal just explained on our show is being used to funnel pay increases to Ukrainian corrupt government officials, to black markets and oligarchs that are selling weapons on the black market. The working class in our country is being robbed to finance that. And Bernie and AOC is on the side of that. That's a betrayal of the working class that leaves me speechless to this day.
It's unreal. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable to me that it's like I don't think. Well, we're gonna go on a tangent because I want to. We can get into Bernie once we talk a little more about the subject, because I did have a comment to kind of bring Bernie in on this. But let me first bring you. Let's go to a clip. So you know the topic, and go ahead, Nick. You put those up there. You know the topic. Where is? Hang on a second here. Okay. But let me show you. The topic is AOC. So there's an article. Let's backtrack. Let me do that first. Let's put the article up first. So this is what spurred my idea for adding this topic for today. And here is the article. It's out by the Hill. This is their latest version of this. Their latest version, because they've actually did this same similar story about AOC being president in 2024 before. They've done this same story before, a different writer, of course. But this is the story that kind of prompted this conversation. I'll read a little bit of it, but we're going to come back to it. But let me just read a couple of paragraphs of it. Dang, there's so many shit popping up, man. When Barack Obama came out of nowhere to win his Senate seat in 2004, it was almost felt preordained, as if he was the person we had been waiting for to breathe fresh air into the Democratic Party. Flash forward to 2018, and the meteoric rise of a 29-year-old bartender from Queens feels eerily similar. She has been unafraid, unapologetic, and unwilling to bend to the will of Washington. That was hard for me to read.
Let me ask you.
That was hard for me to read, right?
And I'm asking this question to the chat too. If there was someone that was calling out the Biden administration for their war crimes, and it was actually holding up bills, wedging their power, forcing votes, would they be writing these glamorous articles about them? No. If there was someone within the Democratic Party that was actually a thorn on the establishment side, the Hill, an extremely right-wing institution, do you think they'll be writing good stories about them?
Absolutely not.
I'll let you continue. I just want to float that question.
No, and that's a point. We both tweeted that point out before, months ago, like over time. You know, it's the same. Some of these points we hit on, and this is one of them. Where if they're being nice to AOC, that means she's not a real one. How they were coddling John Fetterman, I was like, before you even told me some of the other stories, other problems he had, I was like, oh no, that guy's suspect right there. If they're cool with him, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, oh no. And then I found out some of the other things about him. But back to the story, back to the article. Let's zero back into the article. Let me. I know it's hard for me to read, but I'm gonna reread this part here. She has been unafraid, unapologetic, and unwilling to bend to the will of Washington.
Bruh.
I don't know, but this one sentence may be the lie of this entire article.
When asked about Venezuela, literally, just the only thing I'm gonna say to debunk this. When asked about Venezuela and that she support Juan Guaido as the recognized leader and one of the most clownish coup attempts in the history in modern American and human history, one of the most embarrassing coup attempts, when they try to pretend Juan Guaido was president of Venezuela, they asked AOC about this, and she was like, I defer to caucus leadership.
What?
On a fucking giant issue. The issue of opposing imperialism. You know what Lenin wrote as the highest form of capitalism? You guys know what Fred Hampton himself said the most important thing for us to oppose? Fred Hampton gave speeches like the most important thing for us to oppose is imperialism. AOC is like, I defer to that. I defer to caucus leadership. Meanwhile, in this article, she said she's getting unafraid, unapologetic, and unwilling. This is unserious.
Now, if you remember the guy who wrote this, let me tell you his name. But he was a regular. His name, Michael Starr Hopkins. He was a regular on the Hill when Crystal and Kyle used to host. He's like a kind of a lighter complexion black guy, kind of wears a goatee, but complete Democrat, like bought in, completely part of the system, works. Yeah, so that's the perspective, managerial class, the professional managerial class. And just a side note, remember Catherine Liu from University, Professor Catherine Liu, we had on about the professional managerial class. Yeah. You know, she was on the Majority Report, and they have the audacity to talk about her, talking about the professional. But guess I clicked on it, and it's not Sam or Emma interviewing her. Of course, they're not going to interview her. Yeah. So you saw it too. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's.
Surely she's not talking about us. Surely.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's skip that sentence because there's no way to get through it without just.
She's gonna be a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, she is a force to be reckoned with. And in 2024, Democrats are going to need a force to reckon with Republicans.
Now, so let me say something here.
Go ahead,
because I'm thinking this out loud. So don't be too hard on me, right? For one, we don't live in a democracy. For one, they already making the excuses. They already planning fake polls that show Pete Buttigieg in the lead.
Oh my god.
AOC, I can find it in a while here. But there's a poll that's 100% bullshit. I'm not saying the poll results not real, but they definitely went to some boomer fucking area and some bourgeoisie area, and then they conducted. I'm not saying the poll is bullshit. I said the results is definitely manipulated. So Pete Buttigieg was killing the goddamn game. You have the establishment already running stories like Pete Buttigieg is going to be the next president. So for one, progressives better not get their hopes up thinking that we somehow some democracy. We already saw what the Democratic Party wouldn't do. If AOC really was, if our analysis was wrong and AOC is a threat, they would literally just give it to Pete Buttigieg. If AOC beats Pete Buttigieg, that's a sign like, oh shit, she about to sell out real quick. Because it's not going to happen without the establishment permission. Literally, no.
What do you
way.
think of this? What do you? Maybe this kind of ties into what you're
this.
saying here.
I can read it.
This ties into your comment you just said. Go ahead.
Caleb said, theory I've been thinking about. Crowley was next in line for the speakership behind Pelosi. Dude, Pelosi probably was on some gang trash. Oh, I don't know. Since she wasn't ready to give it up, they allowed AOC to take him out. Now AOC is Pelosi's pet project. Dude, only thing I'm saying is she had a Netflix documentary. Remember Burn Down the House? How the fuck did that happen? Can I ask that question? Am I allowed to ask that question? How did that happen? Bro, if there was a real Marxist-Leninist challenging capitalism, challenging imperialism, challenging the Democratic Party, would they get Kshama Sawant? Let me just say that. Would they get Kshama Sawant a Netflix show? They were trying to recall her ass.
Yeah, I know. She ain't getting shit. She couldn't get public access. They not. What do you mean a Netflix show? What do you mean a Netflix show? Absolutely not. She's not getting a Netflix show.
Dude, I had a good friend. Big shout out to Thea. I had a good friend. She was like literally years ago, and this is when people started getting pissed off at me and our friends because this is when we started criticizing AOC. She said years ago she was like, AOC is gonna be next Elizabeth Warren, guaranteed. Bro, how many people got pissed? And that shit aged like wine, son. AOC is on the direct Elizabeth Warren trajectory. On purpose.
I did a stream on this very title. Look it up if you're interested. I did a stream. It was months ago for Straight Outta Politics. So go to the Straight Outta Politics playlist. And it's in there. It's something like AOC is the next AOC is Nancy Pelosi years ago. Something like that is what it's called. It's the same story. Nancy Pelosi used to be talking about Medicare for all now, too. Now look where she's at. So Nancy Pelosi see her and AOC and say, hey, let me groom you and tell you how this is going to be an easier role for you. But I
they wrote an entire story about Nancy Pelosi doing this, guys. How Nancy Pelosi won over the squad. And she became friends with Ilhan Omar. You want to know why Ilhan Omar is so garbage? Because they wrote an article and she literally was just invited her out to lunch. Asked her, like, hey, how the kids doing? Pretending that she's going to work on her stuff and never happened.
Never. Oh, yeah, it'll come up next time, all the time.
Ilhan Omar discusses her friendship. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I'll share this real quick, not be too long. I was just trying to find my overseas and I found this. Ilhan Omar shared details about her warm relationship with Auntie Nancy Pelosi. Bro, she's taking black terms now here. Because on Black Twitter, everyone be like, Auntie, let's go, Auntie, slay Auntie. Now she applied that to Nancy Pelosi. What? Anyway, again, that was just real quick.
No, that's good. Good receipt insertion there. I'll put that article back up, but I also want to shout out this here. What up from the MAGA guy? So we have, and this is one thing I do like about RBN, is that we have conservatives that watch us, we have Trump supporters that watch us, we have libertarians that watch us, we have the whole spectrum. Even if people don't agree, I feel like they can appreciate the honesty and the rawness of conversation from the lens of a working class or the proletariat. You know what I mean? We're not using civility language. We're talking like the proletariat class speaks. So even if you're a MAGA person and you're part of the proletariat, you could be MAGA, because it's not about we hate both red and blue, and that gives us a level of trust that a liberal can't have. A liberal can't get that trust because you're steady saying Nancy Pelosi is great, and Republicans know Nancy Pelosi is terrible and corrupt, but then they're doing the same thing about Donald Trump. So both sides kind of gives us that kind of dap, that figurative dap of, okay, I trust you a little more because at least you're calling out the side that I hate too.
Dude, it's super
So
wild.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I got like 82,000 followers on Twitter, and I'll be seeing every once in a while. I'll see like clearly a right wing person following me, and I'm like, how long you been following me? Like, bro, on my timeline, nothing but fuck the police, fuck capitalism, fuck the Democratic Republican Party, liberation for Black people, power to the workers, power to the proletariat, and they still follow me. They're like, yeah. I don't agree with you on the labels, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take it. And that's wild. Like when I see that. And it's easy.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I more so notice it of people who start following me. I get a lot of, probably if out of every 10 follows I get, 3 are Trump or conservatives. And every 10 follows, about 3 of them are Trump or conservative people, so which is great. And that to me speaks to the message we're saying is not a red-blue message. It's a human message. It's a quality of life message. And that resonates regardless of who you are. Because you can say, yeah, I support Trump, but I agree this shit is corrupt. I agree this system's not working. I agree we should be getting paid more. I agree all this stuff you agree. I agree we shouldn't be spending all this money on the military. Just think, and I'm going to pass it to you. This is just hypothetical. I'll put it out there for the audience. Just think, the money each year that's spent on the military, if that was spent here, what can we do with that money? How could all of our lives be different? How could our rapid transit system be built out? How could our 5G system be built out with us being the owners and not being, oh, our system is bad, our coverage is bad in this area because AT&T own the cell towers instead of the infrastructure being owned by the people? Go ahead, Nick.
My question is, are we trying to win or not? Because you guys saw my takedown I did on Ron DeSantis not too long ago. I be diss Ron DeSantis all the time, and I have these right wingers who follow me, and a few of them like Ron DeSantis, like that one dude said, he like, shit, yeah, you're right about the protester thing, the BDS thing. You're right about that. You're right about that stuff. That's problematic. And the question is, are we trying to win or not? Because I'm pulling people now. I'm letting people realize, the right wingers who follow me realize like the people that they like on their side is full of shit too. And that puts in a position that's way better than having these little shallow corners where you have no exploration of thought. It's just one line of thought. You already know exactly what you're getting.
You ever had this, Nick? You ever had this? Yeah, and fuck Obama. And you're like, yeah, fuck Obama. You're like, yeah. Like they don't have they don't have that ability to call out Democrats and us to go, okay, now I'm about to be tribal. It's like, no, they're terrible too. Yeah, they're war criminals too. Like,
what's funny, whenever I land into Trump or Biden or whatever, there's always some person out like, well, like a lot of times I'll criticize right wingers and they be like, well, you voted for Biden. Like, no, I didn't. Or vice versa. They say the same thing. Like, and then people like, just admit you. There'll be liberals like, just admit you like Trump already. I'm like, you guys see how broken the propaganda in our country made people brain? Where just criticizing people of power, they immediately assume you like the other side. That's a two-party duopoly. And people who are done with that, even if they have some even glaring disagreements, they want to form some sort of coalition, at least find some method of agreement so we can challenge that. And then you have the dividers, the boutique left that we discussed, who push conspiracy theories such as the red-brown lines. They smear anyone who don't follow the progressive academic groupthink mindset. If you don't have that same liberal tongue, if you don't associate with the same exact crowd that they deem appropriate, they will say, oh, red, brown lines, you got nefarious means, because they are an agent of chaos meant to create disunity among the workers. And that's something that most people pick up on. And that's why most people trying to shy away from the two-party duopoly. But I'll pass it right back to you, CJ.
No, shout out also to those watching on the other side of the planet in Australia. This is also,
leave in the chat. I asked this question before on one of my live streams, but that was the live stream that crashed.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to read the comments. Leave
I saw that. Yeah, I saw
that. From.
Tell us where you're from. If you don't want to put the city, that's fine. But like the state at least, or if you're in another country, where you're at in another country. We're curious. We'll put those up in a minute. But somebody asked, have we gotten the topic yet? And no, we haven't really got into it.
Oh, yes.
We just get into it. So let's get back to the article. Let's get back to the article. Let me read this other paragraph here. Rep, I'm just gonna say AOC for short. Rep AOC is less of a personality and more of a movement. That was hard for me to read. Yes, the smart, photogenic Congresswoman is the face of a rising progressive movement, but she is also the future of the Democratic Party. AOC has cultivated a following beyond politics. She's an influencer in its purest form. Her ability to relate to her supporters and allow them glimpse into her private life is a blueprint for Democrats trying to act less like mannequins and more like humans. Let me just say this. The fact that this person feels free to even speak about AOC like this is another red flag. All of these red flags, corporate media talking about you like this, saying she's going to be the face of the Democratic Party. I don't remember any of that sort of talk about Bernie Sanders before he really flipped and started going downhill, severely going downhill as far as supporting this Democratic Party. Any thoughts on that paragraph? I can read the next one if not. It gets pretty good.
They actually kind of delusional. If you actually listen to the substance of what they said there, they'll say, well, AOC has this ability to show her regular life on social media, and this is the model that Democrats may want to move in the future. You see how they said a blueprint for Democrats trying to act less like mannequins and more like humans? That's not going to work, for one, because there is a bridge that is too far, it's too wide to cross. The class divide. This is the class antagonisms, as we described in Martin. The class divide is too wide. Like, imagine if Nancy Pelosi or one of these millionaire Democrat politicians, like, I'm gonna have an Instagram that shows my real life is like. I'm gonna have you get to know the real me. You're like, this motherfucker is completely unrelatable. So politics, they relied on the show. They relied on the theater. They relied on the fact that they have this propaganda known as cable news that can create a narrative about them that's not true. Like, you know how they create working class Joe, right? They create a Barack Obama that was never a thing. Politicians actually benefit from the illusion. So what they're saying in this article is, hey, maybe if politicians get more people into their lives, people will like them more. That would be the exact opposite. They'll be exposed for the classist, elitist assholes as they really are. There's been many people. There's like the Secret Service agents that leaked from the Hillary campaign. Where many people say Hillary Clinton is awful to be around. Remember the stories about Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris is awful to be around. She's an awful boss. Imagine if you just see Hillary Clinton being extremely elitist, being extremely bitchy towards her help, which she's been reported of being just like that. So unlike this article, unlike what this article is saying, the best thing they can do is hide instead of being on Instagram. And I think AOC does a form of that as well. Like, everything she put on Instagram and her social media is very calculated. It's not like she's giving you her uncensored thoughts on every, like, why didn't she do an Instagram live stream explaining her vote on Ukraine? Hey guys, I know you guys are upset about me voting for a NATO expansion. I'm here to upload an Instagram live to explain my thought process. She didn't do that, right? I know I didn't force the vote, American Pro. I know I voted for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker, even though I said I didn't do that. Here, I'm live on Instagram. I'm explaining to you guys my thought process. If you guys disagree with me, let's have a discussion. If she did that, that would actually be pretty worthy of praise, right? Like, if she did that, I'm like, man, even though I disagree with her, that's pretty base that she coming out here and she doesn't do that. She on Instagram and TikTok, and she's like, hey guys, I'm gonna get my nails done to affirm myself. Remember that? That's what she does on Instagram. But anyway, sorry, I won't get into this video. I'll pass it back to you, CJ.
Yeah, just throwing up some of the places, man. Georgia, Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, Iceland, Alabama, Seattle, West Virginia. Oh, I thought I clicked it. West Virginia. I believe this is Maryland. I believe that's Maryland. Melbourne. That's also Australia.
Oh yeah, I see Ireland here too.
We see a lot of international. See a lot of international. Yeah, watching our stuff. That could be. We had an international summit. We forgot about that, where we had people from other countries who are on, streaming on our platform.
Yeah, I get PMs.
We could have their audience. Yeah, we could get their audience.
I get deals with people with like solidarity from France, solidarity from
that's awesome.
Korea. So I'm like, damn, that's wow. So that's why I'm curious to know. So I'm glad I see Iceland here. Great to see.
Yeah,
we need. I said before, we need an international coalition of leftists. Like the capitalists formed a coalition. They're like, we're gonna build a NATO alliance. We're gonna have the UK. We're gonna have the US in here. We're gonna have all the powerful European colonizers. And y'all think we can challenge that with just a movement in one country? And I don't know what that was gonna look. I don't know what international leftist coalition is gonna look like. But we need to start planning that shit right now. We need to start having conferences. We need to start developing relationships. You know how what the Uhuru Black Socialist Movement did? The same way they're reaching out to comrades in Russia. There's nothing wrong with that. The fuck? That's exactly what we should be doing.
That's dope. Yeah. Let's do it, Nick. A quick chat check. Quick like check. Please like this stream. We have 355 people watching, but only 240 likes. Can we push those likes to 300 and get some more people in the chat?
And
let's push to 300 likes. Let's push to 300 likes. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't.
Yeah, I got it. I think for super chat, this is a good time to read it, and then we get back to the video. A nice, powerful 666 super chat. I can see them calling out a Clinton Cheney ticket, which would please the corporate oligarchs. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that makes my stomach hurts. Clinton Cheney.
Yeah, I'm vomiting right now. Hold on, I'm vomiting.
Bush and Clinton. Bro, yeah, I can see them locking hands like, I know we have beef. We fought before, but we got to unite. There's this populist movement that started with we have Trumpism. I can easily see that. I can easily see that happening. And we don't live in a democracy, so it doesn't really fucking matter. They want that to win. It'll win. I don't believe in this shit no more. I'm sorry. I just don't. Comment and then we can move on.
No. That's good. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah, thank you for that super chat.
Do you guys know how unhinged a Clinton administration would have been? I can show you guys a receipt later, but I showed on the show before. She said that there was a story that said Clinton's foreign policy team would have doubled down and became more hawkish, and they wanted a more aggressive U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah.
So Barack Obama, the drone strike king, who the number one scourge on his record is bombing people, CJ. Hillary Clinton saw that, and he's like, Brock, look at this fucking pussy. We need a double. So, guys, I know Trump was bad. I'm not denying that, but we don't know how bad Hillary would have been. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think she would have been far, far worse. I think she would have been far, far worse than we could imagine. I'm talking about like Bush 2 level, like approaching Reagan terribleness, in my opinion. I know some people put Bush above Reagan, but anyway, let's finally get to this video now. So when that article was posted, and I can show you the tweet, but Ryan Grimm posted the article or retweeted the article saying, and he tagged the person who wrote it and said, hey, this person wrote this article he's pushing or promoting AOC 2020. And then Brianna Joy Gray quote tweeted it with this video attached, with this episode attached, where she talks about AOC running for president and why it's problematic. I'm going to show you 2 videos from there. This is the first where BJG talks about AOC running and the problems she would have running for president.
2018 proved that progressives can win, but 2021 showed how disappointing they can be once they're in Congress. If progressives weren't willing to pull a Manchin, to use the narrow margins in the House, to vote as a bloc and hold up must-pass legislation until the corporate duopoly finally served the public, why should the public invest in electing more squad members? Why should they trust a squad member for president? These are the questions that AOC, Ro Khanna, and any other progressive hopeful will have to answer. Now, certainly, many Democratic voters and progressives still hold a positive view of AOC, perhaps the majority of them. But her favorability polls tell a more ambiguous story. 35% of respondents in a May poll found her to be favorable or somewhat favorable. 33% had an unfavorable view of AOC, with another 9% finding her somewhat unfavorable. Now, this isn't an exact science, but what I think you're seeing here is that AOC isn't quite the Bernie-style figure Starr thinks she is. Bernie's favorability rating is 44% favorable or somewhat favorable. And whereas even his detractors think he's an honest broker, AOC is plagued by claims that her progressivism is largely performative. Should she have worn the dress? Should she have kept her hands behind her back when she was escorted away from an abortion protest last month, despite not being handcuffed? Will she be willing to take a stand against Pelosi the way Sanders has historically stood against the establishment? Now, Senator Sanders is not immune from criticisms from the left, but unlike AOC, Bernie's long record has earned him more benefit of the doubt, rightly or wrongly. If AOC does choose to run, can she be successful without the support of the independent left media, which is currently divided on the question of whether there's any point in voting for any Democrats at all?
So that's the question, Nick. I'll play it again at the end. This is the last question here. Let's listen again.
Well, without the support of the independent left media,
I'll just repeat it. Can AOC win the presidency or even a primary or even the nomination for the Democratic Party without the far left in the same way that Nina Turner was not able to do so?
That was our critique, and why I said the strategy didn't even make sense, even if your goal was different than ours. Because our goal and our stated objective is building a working class hostile movement outside of the Democratic and Republican Party. But even if he was to quote unquote take over the Democratic Party, the objective at that point is convincing the electorate that the Democratic establishment that you guys have been voting for is actually not representing you. Thus, you must support me, right? That is your goal. So it does not make sense for you to come out and say that your ideological enemy, Joe Biden, is he gets an A. He gets better than expected.
Right.
You need to make the difference between you and the neoliberal class, and that is what voters they just simply don't see it, and they don't have no reason to see it. Like there's no reason for people to see AOC as anything other than a Nancy Pelosi Democrat, because even if she has quote unquote disagreements with her on policy, she's gonna follow the line that Nancy Pelosi wants her to. She's gonna be a good Democrat and follow the directive of the Democratic Party caucus, which means she is de facto a Pelosi Democrat.
Right.
And people see that. Like people, even if AOC fought and lost, at least that will peel them away from Biden. Like it doesn't even make sense, logically speaking. Biden and Kamala Harris is the most unpopular president and vice president in modern American history. So considering how unpopular they are, how does it even make sense to hatch your wagon with them? If you were seen criticizing the unpopular president, that would make you more appealing. But since Joe Biden is unpopular and you apologize for him, people connect you with the unpopular vice president. Look at what the right-wingers say. Libertarians and some people, whether it's true or not, they say Biden is under the ear of Bernie Sanders and AOC. CJ, would that lie even be possible if AOC and Bernie Sanders were calling them out every day? We know that's not true, but the fact that they don't call them out leaves that line and plausible.
That opening, yeah.
But go ahead, CJ.
No, I was just gonna agree. It leaves that opening for plausible deniability. You said the word better than me. Now let's bring up another video. But in that previous video, before I move to this next one, BJG points out that her poll numbers aren't good. Her favorability aren't good. And you've talked about this before,
Yeah,
Nick,
we discussed
where
that.
it's like, how is AOC's numbers so low? That's because people like us don't view her favorably, but then the new liberal class, the people who used to hate her, now are in her camp now. And those are the people, but this is why her approval rating. Yeah, and I think, Nick, did you tell me it's lower than Nancy Pelosi? Or
No. It's not
okay.
lower than Nancy Pelosi, but it's like you're on a trajectory of becoming a Nancy Pelosi at this point. So like it was underwater in one of the polls. I haven't seen the new polls, and I'm assuming Bree is breaking that down. I remember I saw a poll when I broke this story down originally that showed AOC around. It was margin of error around -10 to -12, something like that. And I'm like, dude, You're the champion of the
That's
most
fair.
popular policies in the nation. How are you underwater? Because she focused on Democratic Party, identity politics, culture war bullshit. She focused on calling out Ted Cruz on Twitter, right? And all these fucking niche issues instead of focusing on what workers need consistently. And despite all our criticisms of Bernie Sanders, which I have some, it's been undeniable that he's been one of the most popular senators in modern American history for years now, because he had a different approach. Now, I did a segment explaining the difference between old Bernie and new Bernie. Now, new Bernie is a weak little cuck who fucking, most people see through him now. He's not as popular as he used to be, not as influential as he used to be. Everyone see him as a weak little biting little bitch now. But back in the day, he would at least, he proposed primarying Barack Obama because of Obamacare. He called out Barack Obama and Joe Biden for discussing privatizing Social Security. So he at least have the illusion. And we discussed his record before, like if you actually look in between the lines, like his war votes, he actually will fall in line with the establishment. But he always gave this illusion that he was just this guy who cared about the workers. He don't play politics. He don't even play, like he don't care about materialism. AOC at the fucking Met Gala. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is like, I don't care. Like he was famously asked about Air Force Ones in the interview, like I don't care about that shit. And that was appealing. Like we got criticism now, but that's undeniably appealing. AOC never had that. Her strategy, for some reason, despite the fact that she said that T.O. Bernie is her hero, she decided to do a complete opposite strategy than Bernie, right, who literally, whether he caucused as a Democrat, but he literally was an independent, and he marketed himself as a guy who was independent and away from the Democratic Party, and that changed now because he's a weak cuck, right? But that's how he marketed himself for years and years and years, until he's so big after running. He became a Democratic Party shield. But AOC never even had that period where she pretended to be independent of the Democratic Party caucus. So hopefully that's been a concept. Go ahead, CJ.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's go AOC, like let's go Brandon. I guess that's the joke. I'm hoping that's the joke. But yeah, but let's go with the second video with Bree on the hill, on rising, I should say. And let's listen to this critique, same video critiquing AOC about running in 2024 as president.
Although mainstream liberal coverage of AOC has consistently praised her poise, her fluency on evolving cultural issues, and her viral call-outs of the establishment, a not insignificant portion of the left has been mounting substantive criticisms of AOC since the end of the Bernie campaign. First came unconfirmed rumors that she had distanced herself from Bernie after his campaign touted a soft endorsement by popular podcaster Joe Rogan. When AOC was first elected, progressives cheered her choice to protest with climate youths in Nancy Pelosi's office. But the week she was sworn in for her second term, well, that news week was marred somewhat by her dismissive response to a grassroots campaign aimed at pushing progressive House members to not vote for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House, at least not without getting something in return. The narrow margins in the House meant that the squad had the power to keep the third most powerful Democrat in the country out of her leadership seat. And many progressives, including myself, Crystal Ball, Cornel West, Jimmy Dore, Chris Hedges, and Katie Halper among them, saw this as one of the last opportunities to extract anything for working people before Biden's brand of neoliberal do-nothingness set in. She and other squad members declined to participate, insisting that political capital would be better spent over the fight for 15. And we all know how the fight for 15 went. AOC fought valiantly to keep the Build Back Better bill from being bifurcated, predicting, rightly, that corporatists in both parties would throw the human infrastructure bill that provided substantive relief for American families under the bus. But she declined to call out Progressive Caucus leader Pramila Jayapal for pressuring her caucus not to use their leverage to keep the incredibly popular $15 minimum wage in the American Rescue Plan. And although Nancy Pelosi literally made AOC cry on the House floor as she leaned on her to vote for additional Iron Dome funding for Israel, AOC has yet to call Pelosi out as an enemy of working people's interests. AOC has been criticized for taking a number of votes that are out of step with her professed anti-war beliefs, including voting for military aid to Ukraine. She also gave vague answers when asked about her support for Julian Assange in December of 2020.
Giant red flag. Giant. Like, that was one of the things that when that happened, I was like, when I saw AOC being weak on Julian Assange, her being weak on Venezuela, that was one of the things, like, that's a giant red flag. She voted, one of her first votes was to expand NATO, right? One of her very first votes was to expand pay of salaries for her own salary and salaries of other Congress people. People don't know this stuff. People have no idea the voting records of AOC in the squad, the shit that they actually voted for. And
but they'll go back for them. They'll go back for them and argue all day about them, but have no idea about their entire record.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but why you guys think I call them unserious? Like, what else can I call them? There are people that still to this day that wonder why I turned my back on Bernie AOC. I'm looking at how she's voting. I'm looking at the causes she's not standing for. She's not standing for the cause of Julian Assange. She's not properly standing for the Line 3 activists, right? No longer
unionizing
the executive no longer calling the executive branch out for ICE and their crimes at the border. No longer like she literally called out Donald Trump in a tweet, calling him out for war crimes for bombing Syria. Joe Biden literally bombed Syria. Crickets. It's like these are giant red flags. That's unfortunate. But anyway, go ahead.
No, absolutely. So let's go back to the article and kind of sum up this particular, or we're gonna add Liz Cheney to the topic because it's a AOC Cheney, but they're kind of separate stories, but we're gonna kind of pair them together. But let me read a little more of this article to sum up this segment about AOC before we add Liz Cheney here. But here is this article. Let me read a couple more paragraphs here. She's the voice of a movement that began after the banks were bailed out by the government while homeowners were left to default. The simplicity with which she talks about everyday struggle hints that she's not just a persona for consumption. She isn't beholden to corporations, is a prodigy, small dollar fundraiser, prodigious, I should say.
Bro, this
and
look like this
could out
Trump
like no other politician has been able to. Go ahead.
I was going to say this literally could have been written by the press secretary from AOC. Like, this literally could be a press release.
Yes,
is it
exactly.
journalism? But anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. If Senator Sanders is the godfather, AOC is Michael Corleone.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
We're doomed. As the architect of Medicare for All, what? A $15. Oh, Bernie Sanders. Okay. Bernie $15 minimum wage and numerous other programs that are now mainstream. Bernie's place in history has already been
he talked about like his sports. Like, bro,
Yes.
the same way you would listen to someone breaking down something on ESPN. Like, man, he led the league in scoring. He was the first team all sports. His place in history has been solidified. Look at that, and that's literally the same thing.
That's how they view it. That's how they view it.
sports.
It's just the sporting. It's just strategy. It's just talking, having these conversations about strategy that doesn't really have real world or real life effects or lack thereof. But let's continue. While this is hero worshiping, they're adding into this article. So while Sanders may disagree with some of the progressives in his caucus, his worth carries major weight. Bernie passing the torch to AOC and recruiting her to run for president would be bold and would strengthen and solidify her base of supporters before she even gets out of the gate. So they're saying if Bernie passes the torch, I'm not sure if the torch Bernie has in his hand is still even lit, or it's at least very, very dim. So what exactly is he going to be passing? If he kept his movement, imagine if he kept his movement and what he would be able to pass to somebody else, but he didn't keep the movement. So what exactly is he? It sounds like he's already passing the torch. She's doing what he's been doing recently, and that is sheep herding for the Democratic party. What say you, Nick, on that?
Yeah, it's just people seeing Bernie Sanders say Biden his best friend. People see him apologizing for someone who's an historically bad president. Um, it's yet to be seen. I don't know. I don't think Bernie is like this kingmaker that they were. Like this writer, like this sound. I gotta emphasize it. This sounds like a press release. Like it sounds like this is political fan fiction. That's all I have to say because people see Bernie vote for Ukraine, apologize for Joe Biden. Like people see it. Like people see that shit. He's not the megastar that he was in 2016, 2020. He's just not. He's a weak shell. Like and it's bad because I see people who are significantly to my right, and I don't even say that as an insult. But I see like old school Bernie supporters that would say, yeah, I think Bernie been disappointing. Like people I never expected would say that. Even they are starting to say that now. That's how bad it is. So like I don't think he's the kingmaker that they think he is.
Yeah, like you mean like people you thought would be ride or die no matter what, it would never ever change.
Yeah, Brown was great. You like Savvy just covered it. Like,
yeah, that was one I would never.
No, sorry, Kit from Harlan's Media just did a segment on this. And I saw the discussion where she mentioned how she's like, I'm not feeling Bernie no more. And that was his press secretary. Yeah. Like these are people not even as radical as us that's like, man, don't know, man. So you guys think the average worker feels this way? I don't know. Yet to be seen. I don't see it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Let me continue. I scrolled down a little part further to this article. So listen to this here. In the age of social media and quick sound bites, no Democrat is more prepared to embarrass a bully like Donald Trump. Remember the game reference you said? This is just a game. Like Donald Trump or a Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and return some chuzpa. What is that? Cheesepa? Somebody in the comment? I know there's a fanatical way to say that to the Democratic Party.
I'm not familiar.
Chutzpah. There will be no going high when they go low anymore. It appears the only rule is there are no rules, and AOC is ready to enter the cage and fight for our democracy. So you just did a stream talking about
it. DJ, you just did a stream talking about how people still pretend we have a democracy. AOC can enter the cage and fight for our democracy.
But that's what he's trying to paint. That's the picture he's trying to paint. And he's saying that AOC, like, yeah, those older politicians, they weren't able to come back. Joe Biden wasn't able to come back and zing Donald Trump, but AOC can. Have you seen her Twitter? That's basically what he's saying in this part here.
This is your brain on electoral politics. And this is why we're trying to decolonize the minds of people. You guys see how AOC got entered the cage and fight for our democracy. You see how how they are glorifying this politician and they putting all the onus on her, right? Yep. AOC is gonna be the one who save us. All we gotta do is fight for AOC. Like this is regressive garbage. And we've been trying to inspire people and tell them that we have way more power than the establishment will have us believe in terms of the positive change that we can have in our community by coming together, hitting the streets, and having a disciplined, organized plan as a left, which none of the people who have a plan of taking on the Democratic Party have. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so I'm going to
pronounce chutzpah. There's a super chat. Thank you for the 199. Pronounce chutzpah.
Chutzpah. I know that word. It's just I didn't know that's how you spelled it. I don't know what it means, but I've heard it a bunch of times. I think I heard it on Seinfeld show. Chutzpah, but I don't know what it means. Let us finish up this segment with these last three short paragraphs because they're kind of telling. Yeah, if anyone is prepared, go ahead. I'm going to read it. I thought you were saying, hold on. Okay, so if anyone is prepared to unify the Democratic Party and put the focus back on the working class, it's AOC. Republicans laugh, Democrats fawn, but if voters trust her, we could finally be looking at the first woman president. Again, this is like a press release, not an article. It's not just Democrats that need Ocasio-Cortez to electrify a nation and ensure Trump or DeSantis doesn't find his way to the White House. We all need a leader who knows the price of gas, can tell you the cost of milk, and still remember trying to figure out how she could keep the lights on. Somebody relatable is basically what he's saying. And then this final part here, America doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the generations that will come after us. It's our obligation in the face of fascism to put up a candidate who isn't just different than the Republican, but is disgusted by Republicans and prepared to say why. It was pretty nauseating article that I'm sure the professional managerial class are all reading. Like, you see that good shit he wrote? This is great. I'm sure that's what they're saying about this article, but that was a pretty disgustingly terrible article. Now, go ahead, Nick.
I remember I saw a comment where someone said like the Humanist Report was cheering on for like he'd been like a super cheerleader for John Fetterman, and I've been seeing it. I've been seeing so many people cheerleading for John Fetterman, despite his overt imperialist tendencies. Like he's not even hiding it. So you know for a goddamn fact that if this AOC 2024 thing's gonna pop up, you already know TYT, Humanist Report, all the boutique left
suspects. Hop right on that bullshit.
They're gonna be on it, and they're gonna hate our guts for telling the truth about this. Now, I have questions. I'm interested in you guys' take on this because like electoral politics is such a joke. It's pretty hard to predict things, mostly because the establishment, as we said, can pick the real victor they really want, right? We explained earlier how I think Pete Buttigieg is clearly the guy they try and build up. And as much as I want to say, and this is probably where you guys disagree with me here, as much as I want to say AOC will get washed, I'm gonna just put this out here, guys. There have been recent polls that showed the Republicans push for like the abortion thing really hurt them, guys.
Yeah,
like in
Kansas, really hurt them.
Kansas is extremely conservative. Kansas just had a ballot initiative where the pro-choice position won by like 30 points, guys. Yeah. And I remember CJ, we broke down this stream before where I was like, dude, I think the Republicans booed this to Democrats because Joe Biden and Democrats are hurting so much, so they gave him a gift. Like the Republicans are like they fighting this culture war for no reason. Like if the Republicans just literally just focus on worker issues, shut the fuck up. Hell, don't even talk about politics. Just shut the fuck up, criticize Joe Biden, end it there. But they overreach. Now there's a lot of people who are scared of shit right now. And it's not us. I'm not talking about us. We don't vote duopoly. I'm just doing an honest assessment of things. So when you see the Republicans ramp up their anti-trans rhetoric, or I know there are a lot of people who may agree with them, but how many people are being disgusted by this kind of stuff? You know what I mean? How many people see the abortion stuff and they may hate Joe Biden and the Democrats? They're like, man, it's kind of fucked up though, right? They're not as revolutionary as them. And I explained like both parties have a vested interest in keeping this sham game going. You gotta have a Democrat and you gotta have a Republican. You gotta have a Democrat and you gotta have a Republican. They can't break the balance. They can't break it.
That's why Joe Biden always says we need a strong Republican Party. That's what he's talking about. Go ahead. So,
dude, I really think, and remember when we was asking that question when the Roe v. Wade thing had hit, the Republican Party could easily just had a red wave in 2022, wait till after the election, then do Roe v. Wade. What would have changed? Nothing. So remember, my first question was like, why now? I was like, why now? Literally right before the midterm? It's almost like the establishment gave them a treat. And guys, I'm not saying this. You guys know how I feel about duopoly. I'm not saying this to say Democrats are good, right? I'm saying the polls at the trend right now. There's a story I just read where the Democrats in the Senate made game seats because they got people like Dr. Oz and they got Herschel Walker. It was like the Republicans had this amazing opportunity to bury the Democrats, and then they just own gold by nominating all these fucking clowns, pivoting extremely hard evangelical right for well, we all know they just a lot of them really believe this shit, but politically, no reason. Because they saw how bad the Democrats fucked up. And I feel like, and you guys know my position, I think this shit is theater. They needed Democrats to get a win. So they're like, I think that's why they did Roe v. Wade, guys. And that's my theory. I know you. So you guys, I actually want to see the comments. I want to see if you guys agree or disagree. Because my overall point is, we talking about how unpopular AOC is. I think the establishment will rig Pete Buttigieg over her. But man, the electoral politics is so rigged, it's hard to predict. I wouldn't be surprised if like you have Matt Gaetz, you have Lauren Boebert, who they go so far right, they become so unlikable that they might fuck up and lose to AOC. And I know you guys might disagree with me on this. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm not completely ruling it out. I'm gonna just say that. There are a lot of people who hate AOC, but there are a lot of people who hate all politicians. Look how hated Joe Biden was. He won, right?
He was terrible.
Look how hated Hillary Clinton was.
And he's the president.
He was the Democratic nominee. Donald Trump was one of the most hated Americans, and he won. So I'm not saying that she's gonna win. I'm just not ruling it out. I'm not ready to say I'm ruling. Like, this game is so stupid. And
what I am ready to rule out though is that if AOC ever made the presidency, if you think she's gonna be a progressive, that like by that point
she's not gonna be our ally.
She is done. Like, that's over. You understand? Like, there's not a possibility that they're gonna let that happen. But I think we can sum up that segment and just, we're not summing it up because we're gonna add the Cheney part to this. Now let's play this and shout out to Case Study QB. He curated this video. Liz Cheney will go campaign for some Democrats. Now imagine Liz Cheney. Now I can see this, Nick. I can see Liz Cheney as a Democrat running in 2024 because remember, this red-blue game is not at all about ideology at all. It has nothing to do with ideology. So this is why they can just move back and forth. This is why Joe Scarborough cannot change any of his ideologies, but then tell you, look, I support the Democrat. This is why Nicole Wallace can do the same. None of their ideologies have changed. They still believe in their conservative or Republican, or if they had it in any way, they still believe that, but now they're supporting. The same with the Lincoln Project. The same, they still believe in all the same stuff that they believed in. It's just now they're just switching parties because red and blue, it really doesn't matter. It's one party. But let's listen to this. This is from, I believe, ABC this week. Yeah, this week. But let's listen to this conversation about a minute long.
Susan, there's a lot of ways you could say that Liz Cheney has no path to a Republican nomination. The idea of a presidential campaign, Democrats will be reminded why they don't like her. But, I mean, take a step back. She is the face right now of opposition to Donald Trump in this country. What can she do with this new political organization?
Well, in the short term, she told you she would campaign against election deniers. She confirmed that means she'll be campaigning for some Democrats who are running against election deniers. She has the stature and the ability to raise money to have an influence on some of those races. And over the long term, who knows? Politics.
I just must stop here to make a propaganda point. In the same way, they started inserting the word terrorist in every conversation after 9/11 in order to condition you to be okay with them bombing people over and over. She keeps saying election deniers instead of candidates. That is not just happenstance. Repetitiveness of propaganda is key to propaganda. It's over and over and over and over and over and over. And then you know what? And then over and over. In the same way that how they treat commercials pops up everywhere. The same thing, constant. Because eventually it's going to get into your subconscious. So what is she saying? Election deniers. She's going to be running against election deniers. This is all about framing. Because election deniers means what? Who cares if they believe in Medicare for all? Liz Cheney doesn't believe that, but she's running against election deniers. You see that? Election deniers. But what does she believe in voting rights? We'll discuss that later. We'll discuss $15 minimum wage. We'll discuss the military-industrial complex and her beliefs. She's running against an election denier. You see? Go ahead.
And look at their value, CJ, because there's been much discussion on this on lefty independent media that we liked about the liberals who was sad because Liz Cheney lost. They really believe, and I'm not saying, I think both things are bad, right? But they really believe that Trump surrogates denying the results of the election is worse than being a torture advocate. Can we get things in line?
Yes.
Like, guys, being an advocate for torture is way worse than saying I don't believe some guy won the election. What do you guys think is worse? I think it's clear to me.
Yes.
Go ahead, CJ.
But no, that's a great
point.
point, but that's the sleight of hand that they do. The war-loving mainstream media, or corporate media, I should say. They're not really mainstream. But let's listen to the rest of this clip here, where she's talking about election deniers.
Politics is not a straight line. Liz Cheney is 56 years old. She could run for president in 2024.
She actually makes the point that I talk about. But it was, let me rewind it so you can hear. She says politics is not a straight line. That's what she's talking about. Yeah, you can be over here. You can be a Democrat. It's not a straight line. That's what she's referring to. It doesn't matter beliefs and policies. I could just be a red team. I can be a blue team now.
A straight line. Liz Cheney is 56 years old. She could run for
My bad.
election deniers. Against election deniers. She has the stature and the ability to raise money to have an influence on some of those races. And over the long term, who knows? Politics is not a straight line. Liz Cheney is 56 years old. She could run for president in 2024 or 2028 or 2032. Sometimes there are political figures who seem to be making symbolic stances. And you look back with the benefit of some hindsight and you see the influence they had on their party and on the country. I'm thinking of Bernie Sanders, who not everyone took very seriously at the beginning and who had a great effect on his party. We'll see if Liz Cheney has a similar course.
I mean, you could say Teddy Roosevelt, who left the Republican Party, ran as the Bull Moose candidate, and then the party actually tried to recruit him 8 years later to run as a.
So Liz Cheney is Bernie Sanders, and who did he just? Did he say Truman? Hang on a second.
He ran as the Bull Moose candidate, and then.
Part on his party. We'll see if Liz Cheney has a similar course.
I mean, you could say Teddy Roosevelt, who left.
Teddy Roosevelt. So Liz Cheney is Teddy Roosevelt and Bernie Sanders, Nick. We're winning, Nick.
No, come on, man. I was literally thinking, like, what is the point she's trying to make right now? And she literally tried to make oh, Jesus Christ. She said that Liz Cheney is like Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders drove to popularity because whether he truly believed it or not, he was fine for Medicare for all. He was fine for popular policy ideas. And she's saying that Liz Cheney can replicate that with the American people by posturing against Trump, even though she voted for Trump 93% of the time. You guys see how they conflate political theater with policy positions? Jesus, that's such a...
And that's the job.
This is the highest level of propaganda. No other state does it better. No other state does it better.
And this is what I was just about to get to. This is just what I'm about to get to. This is the Hunger Games. This is just rich people who are here working for the oligarch or the ruling class to try to having these discussions, getting paid all these fancy money to keep their discussions in this box that the ruling class wants for the workers to fall for.
They competing.
That's literally what they're doing. It's like the Hunger Games. If you watch the Hunger Games, there's all these rich people that are in the audience, all the rich people who are part of this game, and the game show host is talking, or the talk show host, or whatever it was, is talking. They're all rich, but it's for the peasants. And that's what this is. This is theater. This is theater. Go ahead.
That's the best way to put it, CJ, because this is ruling class theater. They competing. They playing a game here. And do you guys see the person who took over Rachel Maddow's show, Alex Wagner, right? She this young, unbecoming political commentator. She got that job because she was good at doing this game, right? And I remember when it was announced that Alex Wagner is taking over for Rachel Maddow, there was all the blue check liberal people, and then I watched the video when it did when she did her first show, and she was talking to Chris Hayes, and she was like, "Congratulations! I knew you since we were both spoiled, rotten, privileged little kids." Like, and then like this is a competition. Like she reached the top of the ladder, right? And so when they do this oligarch game, when they send this round table, feeding each other establishment talking points, that's them auditioning for that next big establishment spot. Alex Wagner got the Rachel Maddow show. One of these people, they are auditioning for the Washington Post spot. They auditioned for it to be the next the great big correspondent, so they get their next big show. That's all what this thing is about. They extremely careerists, and the amount that they don't care about anything other than their career would astound people. But anyway, go ahead, CJ.
But what do you think then? So you have these two dynamics where you have Liz Cheney, they're talking about her running in 2024, 2028, and so on as a Democrat because she couldn't run as a Republican. So can you see an AOC Cheney ticket? Like Cheney is bringing in the Republican suburban moms that they always try to get. And then AOC is bringing in the leftover people who are progressive, not us. They're bringing that together to fend off Donald Trump. You understand? Like this could be out of the box because they are definitely afraid of Trump, and they know they're going to lose against him if it's just straight up. They know that. So this could be crazy. But do you think this is a possibility? Do you think Cheney can run as a Democrat with no problem? And do you think AOC is ready to run it for president?
We are seeing the blue-brown alliance expand with progressives, aligning with people like Mike Pompeo and Mitch McConnell on Ukraine. So yeah. I wouldn't rule anything out here. And it is I actually see the establishment pushing Cheney. I want to share my screen here because
go ahead.
I want to go to another part of the story, which I think is important to discuss, is the Overton window shift. There was many examples of the mainstream media mourning the loss of Liz Cheney, liberals mourning the loss of Liz Cheney. The same way that we now see liberals in the Democrat Party, they have a positive view of the CIA and the FBI. This is the shift of the Overton window. So people on the left and ordinary voters may see through Liz Cheney, but this is a poll I saw which shows the state of the Democratic Party. So remember how they shot and smear workers as people who want to form a red-brown alliance because we want to march with our neighbors to get health care who may or may not be conservative? Look at this. Americans are split on their opinion of Liz Cheney as she weighs a presidential run. Most Democrats, 6 out of 10, CJ, 6 out of 10. That's a huge number. 6 out of 10 view Liz Cheney favorably, compared to only 25% independents. Over 2 times more Democrats support Liz Cheney than independents. Only 17% of Republicans. The Democrat Party.
How can that be if her policies are opposite?
So, guys, who's really forming the Red-Brown Alliance? The only people who are forming alliances with fascists are liberals. Liberals are the ones who want to form alliances with Bill Kristol, Liz Cheney, John Bolton. Ooh. John Bolton was on CNN, MSNBC, just having this conversation. Hey, we got John Bolton on. Got a fucking mass murderer on. And we're going to have a civil conversation about why Trump is so dangerous for America. We got fucking war crime. Now the Democratic Party likes Liz Cheney. So when you say AOC Liz Cheney as a possibility, when you look at these numbers, she got blown out in the Republican primary, but 60% of Democrats view Liz Cheney favorably because we live in state TV. You had CNN and MSNBC every day. You had Robert Reich, the progressive, apparently, who's like, this is why we need to support Liz Cheney for 2024. Oh, and like you said, propaganda, repetition, over and over and over again.
And he's supposed to be the policy guy. Robert Reich is supposed to be the policy guy. He's the one that does the videos. Let me show you all the numbers. But in that tweet, he's like, yeah, hear me out. Hear me out. I know he had to have gotten, well, no, they pay for their likes and everything. So what I was going to say is he had to have gotten.
They get automatically thousands of likes. And you know it's a troll farm, by the way, because they get thousands of likes on their tweets. Like these shitlifts, they will tweet thousands of likes. But then if you look in the comments, they will be in ratio by leftists. Not like ratio, but like the leftists will have hundreds of likes criticizing them. But if you would think if they have 1,000 people liking their tweets, they will have people defending them It never
Defending
happens.
them, exactly.
You just look in the comments of people dragging the person who got tens of thousands of likes because the bots will like the tweet, but they're not real, so they won't comment.
They're not gonna comment. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So if you look at that Robert Wright tweet when she praised Liz Cheney, ton of likes, every single comment was negative because that every single like was bots and real people see through these fucking idiots. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, but we can kind of end this up and then leave kind of do our last story for the last 30 minutes of the show. But I do see, I don't know, I see Cheney as a Democrat in 2024 more than I see AOC running for president in 2024. I don't know how she could win the primary or win the nomination without the far left supporting her, and she simply doesn't have that. She simply can't. You can't vote for NATO and keep that. Like you can't vote for you can't vote for NATO, vote for Ukraine, and do all these things, abstain from voting or vote present on an Iron Dome, and then be like, hey guys, come vote for me, come trust me. It's not something that's going to happen. So I don't think she can win the primary because there's going to be corporate Democrats that's going to be feverishly working to make sure she doesn't get the nomination because she's a so-called Democratic socialist when we both know that she's actually a social democrat, and it's a big difference. She's not a Democratic socialist. So that's my final take on the two segments sort of combined. Anything else on this before we move?
I don't know what story. I have a quick story.
You can bring up your story, and then we're not sure. Let's say we do the mismanagement, the misleadership class. Maybe we can do that another stream because that might deserve a whole stream.
Yeah,
so
we can. Yeah, we can just edit the title or whatever.
Yeah, I can change the title. That's no problem.
Because I'm gonna be on Bree's call-in show. I think that's it. I gotta check with the time zone, but I think it's coming.
Is that today?
Yeah, today.
The one that's today is
I think
at
you can
4.
join too because she said she won. Bree reached out to me and she said you and anyone RBN because she gonna talk about Boston FBI. So I might jump on her call-in later. So I still got like another 30-40 minutes though.
Okay.
But it's
okay. Yeah, I expect us to be done by then. So if you have another story you want to,
this is not gonna be a long story.
Miss Leadership Class, we can do that on a different stream.
Yeah, I want to make this. I'll cut this to a segment later. So I'm gonna do this story, and then we can read some super chats. I see all the great super chats. So I appreciate the solidarity, guys, and the support. It helps us out a lot. So I'm gonna get the super chat. I do see you guys. Let's do this story. Let's have. Let me do the. I'm gonna change the banner. I'm gonna make it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Change that up. I'm changing the thumbnail for our stream that we're on to just. I'm gonna take the Miss Leadership Class out and just have it.
Oh wait, hold on. I don't need the banner. I'm gonna show the video in here soon. So it's cool. I'm gonna start here. So
okay,
we're gonna have a conversation about cancel culture, right? I remember where there was a lot of conversation about cancel culture in the mainstream media, and like everything else, it's deeply unserious. Where cancel, like this whole canceling thing, became a marketing tactic that you guys realize that? Like people would get canceled, and then their sales, their profit will skyrocket. Their opportunities will explode. In the Alex Jones trial, they just showed that he was making like some fucking crazy $800,000 per day when he was canceled. So my take on this issue was capitalists, our ruling class, the bourgeoisie, they are not canceled. They are not being canceled. The real people who are being canceled are the working class, the people who challenge power. And that has always been a thing. Like people believe that cancel culture is now new. So CJ, when you had a black man that would walk down the street, give a white woman the wrong stare, and he get lynched, that sounds like cancel culture to me. I don't know about you. When Muhammad Ali, in the prime of his career as the heavyweight champion, decided not to fight in your imperialist wars, and you got sent to prison, I don't know. That sounds like cancel culture to me. But then you have these commentators that believe that cancel culture was invented to inflict them individually. And I'm like, sorry, guys, I'm not going along with that stupidity. It's stupid to believe that these people who are uncancelable, who never get canceled, that this somehow society is breaking down on them. The society always crack down on us. And this is just another example of this. I'm gonna play this video. The firefighter has some words about this dead cop. And
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that
it got into
story.
a little feelings. You know the right wingers who say facts over your feelings. You know the right wingers who say, "Oh my God, lefties are snowflakes. Lefties are snowflakes. Yeah. Why you guys always in your feelings? This generation is so soft. Back in our day, we used to never get offended. But then you say some shit about cops. Like, oh my God, fire him! Fire him! He hurt my feelings. He was mean to a cop." Same people. Anyway, let me play the video. I think you know what I'm talking about. I'll get your guys' reaction to that.
Yeah.
Because the video breaks down the story. And then I'm going to read the quotes on this. And his quotes, very base regarding police officers. And this showed us the change in sentiment of the society because abolitionists like us. But anyway, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Comments about that fallen officer. Hi, Team Sheldon Fox live in Miami with more on this troubling text, Sheldon.
Troubling.
On the hot seat, Jeff describes the scenario for an unnamed Miami firefighter who worked at a fire station like this one here in Coconut Grove. We don't yet have his name confirmed, but his written words sure to have people heated. There's serious heat on a Miami firefighter, and it's got nothing to do with being on the job. But for what was texted about the tragic shooting death of Miami-Dade police officer Cesar Echeverri. The fireman texting within a group chat, quote, "Who cares? Another dead cop, probably against gun control. They didn't give a blank when kids were dying in that school shooting. They stood outside. Cops exist for the government to exercise its monopoly on violence. They want the whole world to stop when one of theirs goes down. How many idiots I had to transport with honor guard their dead bodies from coronavirus because they all were too stupid to wear masks or get vaccinated. All cops are good for is protecting the rich property owners and the status quo. Everything else is a farce. Expletive the police."
There's an officer down.
It's not the only eyebrow.
What's the problem?
Commentary about Monday night shooting.
Let them know they're going to have another officer down if they keep going at 70 miles an hour near my car.
That's from a City of Miami cop on police radio, commenting on other fast-driving officers rushing to assist following the Liberty City gunfire. He was promptly put in his place by a supervisor.
Let's try to use a little bit more tack and not end anybody up.
So that video covered the main thing I want to get to. I want to show the quotes. And what I find interesting is when the version of this story that got out the most, because I'm gonna read the tweet. This is the tweet that went viral. The part that liberals was sharing was the part that I actually disagree with the most, right? You see how they immediately went to the coronavirus part? This was the part, I don't know how many stories you read about this, CJ. This was the part the media was pushing. The media was pushing this quote. I had to transport honor guards their dead bodies from coronavirus because they were all too stupid to wear masks or get vaccinated. Fuck the police. That's the quote that they were pushing out because that feeds into the COVID
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like the number one culture war the establishment love to push. So that will get you immediately on the side or not on the side. And what they didn't lead, because in that video, I found that video, I had to dig it up and they showed in that video, there's so many of these stories where they didn't like share his entire quotes. And they got into a little bit of it. And for his comments, that was extremely based. And he has.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I didn't hear nothing wrong with it at all.
Not one got anything wrong with it. Whether you guys agree with his COVID take or not, whether you think it's fair to shame people or not, whether it's vaccine or not, he had the right to make those comments, especially because they police fuck him. And he called out how he's like, why should I give a fuck about the cops? When once again, I don't even agree with him on this. When he talk about they probably against gun control, I'm against gun control too. But he making a point like these motherfuckers don't have his best interests at heart. Fuck the police, and as a civilian, you have the right to make that a case against them. But this is the part I find most fascinating, and this is the part I did not see covered by a lot of mainstream media. Because if you look at the tweet I covered, if you look at the few mainstream media stories that they wrote about this, that's why I pulled that video up because the video showed a few of his quotes. The coronavirus quote is the one they plastered everywhere. right? But they didn't show this
On
quote.
purpose.
He said they didn't give a shit when kids were dying in school shootings. They stood outside. CJ, I told you that Uvalde police shooting, it's gonna change so many minds.
It changed so many people.
Imagine how many people think like this, but they don't got a platform. They're not saying. They just secretly saying like, I used to think the cops was good, but they let kids die. Fuck those mother. Imagine, guys, how many people are thinking this. CJ, feel free to interrupt me anytime. I can't see your verbal cues. Feel free to interrupt. But imagine, that's why I'm covering the story. Imagine how many people are secretly thinking this. These motherfuckers let kids die. I can't. They lost their all faith in the cops because of that. And now that led people ask the questions. The defund the police movement led people to ask questions. So look what he says. Cops exist for government to exercise its monopoly on violence.
Yeah.
They want the whole world to stop when one goes down.
Fire.
CJ, he sounded like he watched the RBN segment.
I know. That's what I was saying. When the verbiage that he's using, I'm like, what? They exist to protect, and I'm like, what? This is a based ass fucking firefighter. Like, where is this? And the same, I'm gonna piggyback on your same story. I mean, it's part of the same story about cops, so it's the same segment. And this is another example.
See, this is
of what the guy is saying.
I want to hold it because this is brutal, but I think we should cover it because I was debating.
Yeah,
this is pretty brutal. But this is another instance. Sorry, CJ, I interrupted you, but there's another instance, just like Uvalde. This is one of them. Like me and CJ, we see footage or we hear about footage all the time, and to me, it's hard to predict which one's gonna cause a stir. Because to me, it just seems like another video. But it is particularly egregious because look, you see him smash his head. I think that's the part that put it over. Like the fact that you can literally see him smash that guy head into the pavement. This is one of the videos that is reaching national level now, and you never know which one's gonna do it. Like George Floyd did it. This is another video that seemed like it's gaining.
Are they
you get the same impression, CJ?
Yes, I do get the same. I get the impression this has it just hit 6 million views on this video.
I even seen right when you're saying that.
10 million. I'm sorry, 10 million views. That's crazy. It's 10 million views now. It was 6 million yesterday. But look at this, man. So this is the question I always ask with these videos now. I'm starting to ask. Tell me if this looks like, you got two options. If it looks like A, cops protecting and serving, or B, does it more resemble slave catchers and how the treatment how they would have for slaves once they caught them? You tell me which ones it resembles more. Is that protecting and serving, or is that what would they do with a runaway slave? This is easy answer. That's exactly what they would do to runaway slaves for no reason. They could be stopped. The person could have stopped running. They're not resisting because they're mad and they're bullies and they have resentment from when they were geeks, when they were younger. They're taking it out on this person.
And the people, and if you're one of the people that say, well, he was resisting, you are sick. Like if you are you're supposed to be a public servant. You both this is what we want when we talk about public safety. We are the only serious people. The whole point of the police is public safety. If you're doing stuff like this, with people having mental health episodes, there's nothing public safety about this. You are becoming an hostile force to the working class. So when you see stuff like this is why I have a pretty militant take on the police. They are the armed goons, violent goons to keep workers in place. And they are instruments of the capitalist class. Like many people, like the firefighters, are starting to realize. They have this energy against him. You will never see the police treat the ruling class this way. They're just them sending a message to
never.
So if
you would never see them doing that.
So my position is straight up: if you support the police, if you support the budgets, if you support them doing this nonsense, you are the enemy of the workers. Like that's how the Democrat Party. They co-signed this. You guys realize when Biden said he want to add 100,000 police officers, that's him co-signing this.
Nick, answer this question: What training class is going to fix that? Tell me what training is going to tell a human They shouldn't slam another human's head on the ground.
And don't worry, CJ. He just takes some sensitivity courses.
Like,
talk like David Grossman.
unserious.
David Grossman to have a class about sensitivity. They're gonna be.
Yeah, it's so unserious.
Can I show you this?
Reforms? Go ahead. It's so these
I have another
reforms that they
one.
claim they're gonna have. It's so unserious.
This is Cop Watch on RBN. I love that segment that Rome did. I stole that idea.
Yeah.
This is Cop Watch. I got another one. Since we're here, I didn't know where I was gonna fit this, but this is a good time to fit this one. And to your question, CJ, I ask you guys again: how do you reform this? Off-duty officer refused to take a breathalyzer test after fracturing a toddler's skull in a rear-end crash. The police, instead of taking a breathalyzer test, then tested the dad. You know, the boy's dad who toddler skull they crashed. They tested him. This guy Joshua said this the police is really the modern position. They are thugs of the highest order operating above the law. This guy right here.
Do you think him doing that? Do you think he's going to be back on the job, or do you think his career is over?
He'll
be back.
The usual pattern.
He'll be back on the job somewhere.
The usual one is they get time off. They wait till the media attention on it dies down. They say, "Oh, we took him to sensitivity training, but he had a long history of service, and even though this is a one-time thing, I think we should give him another chance." That's how they always do it. The police, a lot of these accountability boards that the liberals cheer for, which is why we got to be militant about who runs these boards, because this was shown in New Jersey when it was celebrated at first because it was like New Jersey, one of the first cities to have a police accountability board. But then when you look into it, they said the police accountability board literally has no authority over the police. It literally just recommendations. And a lot of times when they did a probe, the police unions were working with the police accountability board to actually share with the police. So they will launch an investigation like, yeah, we had this accountability board. We launched an investigation to the incident, and we found the police officer worked within the guidelines within his protocol.
Right.
So what's the point of the accountability board? They just run defense for these people.
Guess who's investigating them? Now, just if we didn't say this earlier, this is in Arkansas. 3 Arkansas officers. Guess who's investigating them? Arkansas State Police. What do you think they're going to come back and find? And let me just kind of give you a little more detail on that particular video, just to give you the background of the story. And here is the stories. This is the Associated Press. 3 Arkansas. Oops. Pop-ups. These pop-ups, man, they're just ridiculous ads. But anyway, 3 Arkansas officers suspended after video captures beating.
Yo, that's when I realized they fucked up when they saw that video.
That's what he pointed at it. Yeah, they was like, oh damn, but they kept beating that motherfucker though. They kept beating him because you know how many times they beat people that's not caught on camera. You know how many times they get away with beating people? They get away with it. That's why even when they see people videotaping it and nothing ever comes of it, the person never puts it up or something, and nothing ever comes of it. But let me read this first part. So Mulberry, Arkansas, 3 Arkansas law enforcement officers were suspended, and state police launched an investigation after a video posted on social media. So 2 of them beating a suspect while a 3rd officer held him on the ground. The governor said the U.S. Justice Department Civil Rights Division planned to conduct an investigation separate from the State Department. So the Justice Department will also conduct an investigation. The officers were responding to a report of a man making threats outside of a convenience store Sunday in the small town of Mulberry, about 140 miles northwest of Little Rock, near the border of Oklahoma. So this is the place. And the video shows one officer punching the suspect with a clenched fist, while another can be seen hitting the man with his knee. The 3rd officer holds him against the pavement. But just in the sort of the story of what happened in Hollywood is responsible for people's reaction to if you see that video and you go, well, he was resisting, you don't understand what the whole point of what they tell us the police state is for, what police are for. They're not for that. Like, policing is not supposed to be about revenge. So you're chasing a suspect. He made you run a long way. Now you're mad, and when you catch him, you start punching him. That's not how it's supposed to be. That's not what policing, and that's not actually what criminal justice
This is not
is
a
supposed to
civilized
be.
society.
Right. But Hollywood has conditioned us, Nick.
Right.
That video, I can't remember which stream it was on, but they conditioned us to be okay. If the good guys have to do a little violence to get the bad guys, it's okay. You see it on NYPD.
They're seen as caring. Like they're
Exactly.
extremely passionate. So yeah, I got rough with the bad guy a little bit. That's what makes me the protagonist. They glorify that, and I think that's by design to get people to apologize for this behavior. And you saw these police officers are being suspended. And I'm gonna show you guys this because this is from Alec, and this same concept regarding Derek Chauvin. Just because they got Derek Chauvin, just because they get any police officers, that doesn't mean shit. They fucked up. They got too public. They got recorded. They are known for doing this. The police officers are known for lying. They're just a case of a police officer tackling this guy down, punched him in the face, and then the police officers denied. They put a press release said, yeah, the guy resisted arrest. We didn't engage with him until he ran away from us. And then literally a security camera saw that the dude didn't run away. He had his hands up. He was down on the ground. And then the dude just beat the shit out of him for no reason. So the police lie all the time. It's just whether you get it on camera. Now I'm gonna share this anecdotal experience, which is 100% true, because this is what we know as black men, CJ.
Yeah.
We all know this. They're like, y'all got arrested. This motherfucker was beating the shit out of me. What the fuck? Like, everyone got stories about this, right? But this is from the perspective of someone who worked with these people. This is Alex, the founder and executive director at Civil Rights Corps. He said, what is shown in the Arkansas police beating video is utterly normal. Mm-hmm. It was dozens of my own clients and their own families described to me over the years. Everyone who works in the systems knows. So everyone right now, CJ, pretend like, oh my God, this video is crazy. Which it is. It is. It is. But this is everyday shit. Everyday shit. Every single person who had these police violence stories, what many people do. You got police escalating situations, doing excessive force. And then on the report, which they are in charge of, they will just straight up lie. Well, yeah, the dude that they beat up, he had one of his teeth was chipped, and he had a fractured skull because they slammed his head on the pavement too. That's something that cops love to do. And they said on the report, the reason why he broke his chip and he got a fractured skull because he ran during the escape. That's not what happened. Well, they do that all the time. You guys think that they just happened to catch the one police officer who lied? They just caught him. Oh damn! Thank God we caught that guy. Or our police force would have been caught with lies and corruption. No, this happens all the time, all the time. That's why our position should be the moderate position, because unbelievable what the American people allowed them to get away with. So, we get the super chats unless you have anything to add to that. Then
no, that's a good way to
end. I just don't mind because I gotta join.
I'm good. I'm probably gonna listen. I don't know how much I can join because I gotta go pick up my girls. They're getting their hair.
Yeah, Bree, her show's on calling long. I might just join for like an hour or so, 20 minutes to an hour. Actually, no, I see. Look, where we leave off on super chat. So, I think we left off here. I think for $5, Martin, Hillary would have been worse since she had more of her marbles than Biden.
Yes.
Now people are more open to me saying this, because if I said this when Trump was president, people will melt down. People just assumed. Like, people like, I can't believe you vote for Joe Stein. You're the reason why Trump won. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
What?
I voted for Joe Stein because I didn't want Hillary to be president. I voted for Joe Stein because I didn't want Trump to be president. They would have been bad for their own unique reasons. And me saying this during the Trump era, that made a lot of people mad. But I can say that more. I actually say that now, and I get less pushback because people see Biden, CJ. People see Biden funding the military more. They see Biden trying to start World War III. They see Biden not doing shit for the American families and betraying. So now they're like, damn, maybe Hillary would have been. Like, look at Biden now. Imagine what Hillary Clinton would have been like. Where Hillary Clinton, let me see. I can find it real quick. But I'm gonna show you guys a receipt Well, Hillary Clinton, because I tweeted about it not too long ago. I was gonna search under my username.
What I would say is that, like, you voting for Hillary Clinton got us Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Why didn't you vote for Jill Stein? That's the person who should have won. So what? Just flip it around on them when they say that.
Do you guys want to see the scariest thing ever? Like, look how bad the Barack Obama administration is. Look at the Biden administration. Hell, but Hillary Clinton saw Barack Obama, the drone strike king, the man who destabilized Africa, turned Libya to a slave state, and then Hillary saw that, and then September 2015. Once again, people ask me why didn't I vote for Hillary Clinton when I saw headlines like these. Hillary Clinton promises a more muscular foreign policy as president.
Yeah,
What does that even mean? How do you get more muscular than Barack Obama? How? Now look at the sub headline, CJ. Let me take the. I don't know if you guys see it because the chat. Let me take the chat off. Look at the sub headline: from Iran to Syria to Ukraine. Look at the date, guys. 2015 to Ukraine. What? Remember how people pretend the Ukraine war just started? This is referencing the United States position and role in maintaining the coup. Clinton was like, Barack Obama, you should be way more aggressive in Ukraine.
Way more aggressive
against Russia. Guys, Hillary Clinton would have been a disaster. Trump was a disaster, but Hillary Clinton would have been.
She would have been way worse.
It would have been a neoliberal hellhole. It's hard to say.
She would have been way worse.
But man,
because she's more competent.
Yeah.
If you're more competent at being a terrible person, then you're able to accomplish more things. Thank you, Rodrigo Mendez. UC Griff Guard Challenge. Aaron harder than Vosh. What is that? Oh, Vanguard. Oh, is that supposed to be Vanguard? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that until
Griff
the end.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna even cover that. I'm not gonna cover that.
Yeah, because like we need to be more focused instead of, I don't know. It seemed like these are like manufactured unserious drama that we.
Yes,
it's, I don't know.
That's
like
I
do see a pattern, and I do notice this. I do notice that people will invite right wingers on, like the point of view what you say now. They were way harder on Aaron than it was on Voss, right? I know it's a trend where people they will be way more aggressive against anti-imperialist lefties. Like you see how Cenk melted down against Breonna Joy Gray.
Yeah.
Compared to how he did an interview, he had a conversation with Richard Spencer, and they were 100% cool. You have Voss who was notorious for attacking Dr. Luna Oy, the Vietnamese communist, and a few other black socialists. Like he would be ruthless to them, so calling them fascists, calling these people fucking dumbasses. But then he went on to have a conversation with Ben Shapiro. No, what's his name? He was the other right winger. Fuck. He had Stephen Crowder.
Tim Pool. Oh, I was gonna say Tim Pool.
Crowder. Yeah, he had a debate with Crowder, and then they were friends. They were laughing up. They were chummy with each other. It's like they have this insane hatred for people who outflank them to the left. But then when they talk to people that right wingers, they they give them benefit of the doubt. They're friendly with them, and I just always wonder what that's about. But yeah, I gotta watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be watching it. I'm not gonna be watching. I can't deal with the there's no point to that conversation. Why am I coming on here to talk about Ukraine? I'm coming on here to stir up trouble. Not Aaron, I'm just mean the whole setup of it. The whole setup of it is not set up to have a real conversation. It's set up to have nonsense happen, and it's just not. I'm done with that. Any more super chats?
People always ask us to chime in on those. That's where like most of our conversations come from when people ask us about it. Because I know you guys watch them, you guys will hear our take. But sometimes like I'm working on I'm gonna be on Breach Show today. I'm gonna have Aaron Good. You guys saw Aaron Good on Multipolarista. Mm-hmm. We're gonna talk about the history of U.S. imperialism. We talk about he was on our anti-imperialist summit. We talk about the history of the CIA. He's coming back on. I'm working on who else? Oh yeah, I'm gonna have Q Anthony and Mene, Carla Zah gonna join us. Like I got all these things I'm working on. Like I don't pay attention to the YouTube fights as much. I covered the Brown Joy and Jank just because I just so happened to catch that. And I'm like, oh,
that's not the same to me.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. Bree was trying to make amends, and they were trying to clear the air. They were coming on specifically to fight. Okay, they're coming on specifically to fight, and I'm just not down for that. Like if I
we
had,
we try to start RBN
Yeah,
chapters. Like we try to
right.
educate people.
Like if
Like,
I had, for example,
I don't got time.
Sam Cedar. If Sam Cedar came on, we're not gonna be on here. No. Like I'm gonna be like, listen, you saying this? Let me tell you why the professional managerial class. Like it might get heated, but it's not. It's gonna be. There's a topic that's worthy of a discussion that we disagree on, not just simply we don't like each other. I just can't get with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm you guys know I met the Vanguard boys at the Martha McAfee in Kansas City. Pretty nice guys. You guys remember? You guys, the people they're pretty young kids. They're pretty in their early 20s. So I just always say, always keep that in mind. Like we always on this channel, always try to keep it educational, try to keep it point. But these people are kids. They're in this space. I don't got much. I'm sorry. I really just don't have much to add to that. I'm sorry if that just. I just don't. It wasn't something I really wrapped my mind around too much. It just they're kids. They're having debate. They're putting their content up in different yards. That's fair enough. But I do want to say I appreciate the $100, Landrew, Solidarity, RBN, Punch, and Face Reality. I appreciate the support because that helps us out a lot. We are a working class channel, so we appreciate. That's a very generous super chat. So thank you, Landrew, once again. That's a lot of support. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $5. Dap the E vegan. Thank you for the $5. It's a game both sides play. They make sure either side stay in the game. One side will not be so unpopular that a third party will take one of them. Thank you for the $5, 100%. We got just a few more super chats. We appreciate all the support. You guys allow us to keep this RBN game running smooth. So I got lots of stuff I'm working on. Like I have this dude. I'm gonna start. I feel like I fucking around got a job. I'm gonna start training, doing martial art mutual aid. I'm gonna start doing my martial art training again. I've been training Muay Thai. I'm gonna train this guy and his friends, and I'm gonna try to start a program where I can teach youth kids Muay Thai and kickboxing. That's something I'm working on. Ron gonna come back on, and I want to get tour for the poor start. Like this, like we talk about this in our meeting. Like we got chapters coming up. There's so much that I've been focusing on. So all that support, like the $100 super chat, all these super chats, that help us continue to educate and push mutual aid and actually engage in the community. So I appreciate the 199 B for all these great super chats. Shout out to you. Thank you for the $5. Robert Reich. Yeah, I read this. Like, I didn't know who Robert Reich was. I just remember a lot of progressives liked him. And he would say progressive thing. Like, oh, I guess he's progressive. But then I learned his background. Like, oh, wait. He was anti-labor. He was part of the Clinton administration. I'm like, how do you guys fall for this?
It was something he fought for. Like, he was the most left in their cabinet.
Yeah,
that's different than saying he's progressive. He was like the most left, and there was policies he would fight for that he didn't get, but he said he would put up a fight, and that's kind of how he got his progressive. You know, you got to remember, progressive 30 years ago in the 90s, 25 years ago, is different than a progressive now. That's kind of like what the left old media structure is that they're still stuck in the Obama years. And the way they're thinking about politics is like you haven't shifted, you haven't adjusted for the pandemic, you haven't adjusted for anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the whole chat. Robert Reich is anti-labor. He was the main person that spearheaded NAFTA. I learned now, like, and then people don't ask me questions, and now you say him endorsing Liz Cheney. He endorsing Joe Biden. There's so many of these boutique leftists that are so transparent. I think for $2, I think it's the last one day. Officer equal overseer. I think for $2. So I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, Misty Winston. Our friend Comrade Misty will join us Wednesday night around 8 p.m. Eastern time. I have Aaron Good. You guys see him, like, I'm glad, like, he's been on Multipolarista with Ben Norton, and they've been doing great foreign policy videos over there. He was on our anti-imperialist summit. We did a CIA video. He's gonna join on Thursday, round 2-3. So we may be able to pull up a stream together with him. And then I'm working on Q and Carla Zah. Carla Zah was on our anti-imperialist summit. Does a lot of great work. And you guys seen Q, Anthony, and Mene. Always great talking to him. One of my good friends in this space. So I got a lot of great guests I'm working on, and a lot more you're gonna see on the channel. Hopefully, you guys been enjoying that kind of content because you're gonna get more of it. And we got a lot of great plans for the channel, and help us get to 30K. That's our next big initiative. So that's all I have. CJ, if anything you want to add? Check me out. I'm gonna be on Breach show. I don't know. Like I gotta check the time. I think it's starting maybe 10 minutes or maybe in an hour. I don't know what time zone she was talking about. But anyway,
I think it's already started. When did she tell you to join? Because I'm pretty sure
said 7:30.
7:30.
What? 7:30 what? But anyway,
Eastern. She's in the East.
Yeah,
her
so
time zone is in the East. So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure she meant in the East. So I think that's gonna be it. Make sure you like this stream on your way out. Nick and CJ show, like this stream. If you want to be notified when we do these streams, because they're kind of impromptu when the times start. If you want to be notified ahead of time, like an hour or two, join our Substack and we will send that out to you. We just recently hit 21,000, I think, earlier today, subscribers. But subscribe to us. Double check to make sure you subscribe to us because of all people, like Rome was unsubscribed and he had to subscribe back. So it happens. If you're in the LA area and you want to be part of the LA community outreach, like helping feed Skid Row, bring them blankets and clothes, email us in the subject line, put LARBN. And is there any other shout outs? Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Also like this stream. And I think that's all I got, Nick. Is there anything else? Oh, let me take this out. Is there anything else you got before we kind of head out here?
No, we got a lot of content coming your way, a lot of good interviews coming. You guys know I love Ranting with Misty, so that's coming on Wednesday. We have RBN Live tomorrow on Tuesdays. So you guys know we always provide a lot of content. Please share, help us hit. Like that's an ambitious goal to get 30K. So we're gonna try to get 30K by the end of the year. Share and help us accomplish that, guys. Much love and solidarity, and I'll see you guys around. Catch me on calling. See you guys.
All right, so this video will be our closeout video. We will not come back to the stream after it's over. So enjoy the video and catch us tomorrow for more. RBN Live is tomorrow. So catch us tomorrow for RBN Live. It should be around this time today, 4 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Eastern, something like that, I believe. So catch us tomorrow. We're leaving you with Malcolm X.
This is American justice. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy. Now, if I'm wrong, put me in jail. But if you can't prove that a democracy is not hypocrisy, then don't put your hands on me. Democracy is hypocrisy. If democracy means freedom, why aren't our people free? If democracy means justice, why don't we have justice? If democracy means equality, why don't we have equality? Who are you? You don't know? Don't tell me Negro, that's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? What did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now? 20 million black people in this country have been like boys in the white man's house. He even calls us boys. Don't care how big you get, he calls you boy. You can be a professor. To him, you're just another boy. I heard him calling Ralph Bunch. Well, he's a good old boy. And if we can't do it, we should hush our mouth. If you can't do for yourself what the white man is doing for himself, don't say you're equal with the white man. If you can't set up a factory like he sets up a factory, don't talk that old equality talk.